Welcome. So we are going to dive right in. We had just 3 people in the call this Wednesday, so we will make it quite interactive for those watching offline. So I want to just kind of get right into it, and maybe I want to ask the two of you, what is appearing in your meditations? What is kind of bothering you? What are the things that, let's say, are more sticky in your experience, the thoughts, the emotions that you tend to fall into for longer periods? And maybe either of you can start to share if you like. Go ahead, Juan.
Yeah, so from my side, I think I tend to, there are a couple of things, usually going through to-do lists. That's one of the things, like what I need to do, what I want to do, and things especially that worry me or I haven't paid enough attention before. So it just came over and over. And one of the other things is like how much time is passing. Like, and being completely honest, has been really, really tough for me the whole hour. So it's like, even if distractions, like, don't worry, go for it. It's just stay there. But in a couple of them, I had to say it's a little bit too much. I just need to be more compassionate with myself, quote unquote, and just take a little break. So that's those sort of things on my mind.
Nice. Yeah, so the planning, the maybe worrying about future things or past things, thinking about the time is very common, impatience arising, and how much time is left, especially when the meditation there's uncomfortable things appearing, there's this worrying or this discomfort. Maybe you find there's discomfort in the body or more in the mind, more related to your thinking or more related to a kind of physical discomfort?
I think probably more mentally than physically. And like physically, I had to check posture and just to make sure that it's just relaxed, but not relaxed. I tend to tense, and then it's just moving between the tense and like sluggy. And but I think I found now a good posture, like physically, I think it's okay. But my mind, it's very intense.
Cool. Yes, thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's very normal, especially if you are more new to meditating for a longer period, that these kind of conditions are showing themselves a lot. And what we're usually finding is the things that we are ignoring a little bit through the rest of the day, or the patterns of the mind that are kind of always there, maybe a little bit more in the background because we are doing things. We sit down and we give time, and they all like in our face. And so that's how we are working. Wenqing, I'll get back to you a bit later, but it segues nicely to the content. Let me share my screen. So it's important to understand why we are meditating. So to understand what we are making this time and space for every day, because without a doubt, things are going to come up in the meditation. The things that are usually bothering us, that we usually go around, are going to appear in the meditation. And as I mentioned in the first lecture, there's kind of these 2 types of meditation. So the first one is the samatha meditation. This is the meditation to settle and calm down the mind. So maybe you have some experience, Juan, of focusing on something else. So maybe you might choose to focus on a mantra or a visualization or your breath. And this tends to calm down the mind because we are making our experience just about something else, and the other things, the worries, the planning, starts to die down a little bit. Juan, do you experience maybe sometimes during the session that, okay, there's some extended period where you can just be a little bit more with the experience of breathing or the experience of walking, and the other things quieten down?
Yeah, I think that's kind of anchors that I can, it's easier. And I think that that's a good thing about also the walking meditation is my first time doing that, to be honest, as well. So being with my body, and when it's sitting, just like, actually, I just try to focus on like the main part, but just like the more subtle parts, just bring more attention, like more focus, if I may say.
Yes, yes, yes. So this is a nice word you use, the anchor. So samatha meditation is about an anchor. We have some anchor, and it kind of brings us back to something. We focus on that one subject, and it creates a bit more calm, a bit more settling in the mind. The thing is that with this approach, which is a really good one, the state of peace or the state of calm that we create is not permanent. So you might find you can focus on the breath for a little bit, maybe it creates some calm, but then again your mind jumps towards the thoughts. Or maybe when you stop the meditation, after your meditation finishes, the thoughts come back. And so the state of samatha, the state of settling and calmness, is not something permanent, it's also changing. And what we are, so we're shifting a little bit our approach here, and we're moving towards the Vipassana meditation approach. So you already kind of answered this. What keeps bothering you in your meditations? Is the worrying, is the planning, is the thinking, is the thinking about the time, and impatience about the time. The thing is that we have some kind of assumptions with which we are experiencing our moment-to-moment experience. So we have some kind of it's like we're having some glasses on through which we are experiencing reality, and those glasses may change, whatever it is. So maybe, Juan, you experience when you are a little bit impatient, then suddenly everything starts to become a source of your impatience. So maybe you are starting to think a lot about the time, and you keep worrying about the time, or a little bit of discomfort in the body starts to become a big discomfort because you are kind of seeing the experience with these colored lenses. Would you say that's accurate? One.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just like it's a cycle that it escalates, and of course, but yeah, definitely.
And do you find this is permanent, or is kind of shifting and changing over time? So maybe throughout one session, or one session better, one session worse?
No, that's a good question. I think it's change. Yeah, I think also every session is different because also what happened on the previous days and so on and so on, but also it's just to settle down, but also change.
Yes, yes, changing. And for you, Wan Ching, what are the things that are appearing and bothering you in the meditations, or the things which are sticky, which you get stuck in for the last days?
It's mostly, well, you mean the things that come up during meditation?
The
It's
things
thoughts.
that are very sticky, the topics or emotions which are very sticky, and which you either find yourself pushing away or keep following.
Well, it's the usual, planning, thinking about the past, and and it's often, if I break it down, then the first order is the thought, and then you sort of investigate. Okay, underneath it is wanting things to be different, or craving something, or something to do with the ego that you want. I don't know, appreciation or something. So and Or if I hear something, then it goes, then I identify the irritation in the body.
Mm.
And yeah.
Mhm,
But I
mhm.
think the noting helps then to let it go. Although at
Mhm.
the end, sometimes when I'm tired, at the end of the sitting meditation, at the end of the hour, I find I tend to dwell more and it takes longer for me to catch it because I'm tired. I'm tired
Yeah,
to catch, to think what next, what next.
yeah, 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 absolutely. So what you're saying is there's different things that bothering you, but if you're kind of just noticing how it works, noticing, and maybe you use this word catching in the moment, what appears, maybe you notice it before it snowballs, maybe, or maybe it has snowballed a little bit, but once you notice it, it starts kind of de-escalating. So we are working with examining our experience, and we are working with what are the things that we either keep pushing away or clinging onto. So one thing you were mentioning about these words like ego or wanting appreciation or planning things. And this is normal. This is the habit of our mind to do this. This is the habit of this organism, this body and mind, to worry about myself, to kind of organize things, to think about the future, to think about the situation, to try and kind of manage things, no? This constant managing or and sometimes it's things that we don't like, sometimes sounds don't like, emotions that we don't like, sometimes it's things that we want or like that we kind of running after. And you might notice that this is somehow endless. It's not stopping. It's not ever coming. Maybe there's some periods where it's coming down, where there's more settling and calming in the mind. You're able to just be with something for a bit while. But then again, the state decays. Here's a little picture of this kind of daffodil, which is blowing away with the wind. So these states are always changing. So in Vipassana meditation, we are working with just the clear seeing of this process of body and mind. So we're not trying to attain any specific state. We're not trying to actually be calm or peaceful. I mentioned that also in the last lecture. Vipassana is not actually about trying to be peaceful. It's just about seeing this continuous process of body-mind working, the nature of this body and mind working. And as we start to see it in the moment more and more, it starts to deconnect. It starts to disconnect all of the cycle, the chain of we hear something unpleasant appears in our body, we don't like that thing, we start thinking about the thing. When we just notice hearing, or we catch this moment of just an unpleasant sensation, it doesn't lead to the next chain of that thought or that stronger emotion, or it doesn't allow this thing to snowball. So it's the same with the planning or the worrying. If you notice that worrying earlier, or if you noticing that thinking earlier, it stops it from snowballing, from going on and on, because you just recognize it for what it is. Oh, this is just thinking. The thing is, when we don't recognize it, when we stay in the delusion of believing this thought or holding on to this thought about what we need to do, what we need to plan, it just feeds itself. We stay in a cycle of delusion, of clinging and aversion, of wanting less or more of something, preventing something, changing something. Maybe the ego, we can call it the ego, who continues to want more appreciation, which feeds more ideas or behaviors, which creating more of the delusion and feeds this cycle. So whenever we're practicing just a moment of seeing, just a moment of noticing, whatever that is, whatever it is in body or in mind, not by focusing on something else, not by calming down or redirecting our attention. It's actually a form of distraction if we redirecting our attention onto something neutral. This would be more a samatha approach. But just through a moment of insight, of clear seeing, of just the delusion as that, just the thought as a thought, just this reaction is just this reaction, instead of believing the story or the object of the reaction. We are kind of cutting. We're cutting this cycle. And we actually create a moment of seeing, of just seeing. And this creates a little bit of moment of freedom. So you might notice in watching, you were also just saying in the beginning of your meditation, maybe it's easier to catch the things, and maybe you find more freedom, more space, not as much chasing after or pushing away, but just the noticing, just resting in the noticing of whatever is. And maybe later when your effort drops, or you feel, oh, I'm getting tired of this, I don't want to do it anymore, then the things again get a chance to coagulate or to clump together, and we fall back into this habit. So Wanqing, I want to examine a bit more what happens towards the end of your session. So you say you're getting tired in the end of your meditations. And can you say a bit more about that process of getting tired, or how it affects your meditation and your awareness?
I'm just describing this morning's meditation. Every meditation is different, right? But this morning, just right towards the end when I was getting tired, then I just a thought comes, and then you sort of continue down that path, and it just takes a long time before I catch myself that I've gone through 5 iterations of this thought, and before I come back. But that's okay, because as you say, don't judge ourselves, and to celebrate the fact that you catch it in the end. But in comparison to when I'm catching it earlier, of course, it doesn't, the body doesn't feel as light, right? It just feels heavier. The head feels just more woolly compared to when you're letting go, noting, regularly letting go, and coming back to the breath.
Yes, good. Nice. And that moment of noticing it, even if it has continued for some time without you noticing it, what is that moment like?
Well, I kind of beat myself up a bit about it, right? Because I'm like, oh God, I did so well until now. Why did I go down this tangent?
And do you recognize that as more thinking?
Not at that moment, but now that you mention it, I guess.
Yeah. So we have to be careful because even through mindfulness or through awareness, we can actually create more delusions or more ideas. Like there is a moment of just clear noticing, and then again we fall into it because we start thinking about how I should have done better, or how this just happened for so long and why didn't I notice it. And in that moment again, it's so this Vipassana, or this insight or clear seeing, is a momentary thing. It is a moment. You cannot, Vipassana is not a state or a state of seeing. It's really just a moment, and you can only do it in the moment. You can't retrospectively see something, or so in that moment of just seeing, it's already gone. That moment of just seeing it is already gone. And what you can only continue to do now is just see again what is right here. So this is so important, because we tend to make our you just went off the microphone. Off mute. You want to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say that that's so true, because sometimes when I catch myself that, I had a thought and I wandered off, I'm so tempted to analyze why I had those thoughts. Why that picture came in and then I had that thought. It's so tempting to do it. And I have to like catch myself and say, no, this is not what I'm here for. I'm here to meditate, to be in the moment and not analyze that thought.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And
So more
it doesn't
habits,
matter. I
more
should just
habits
let
on
it
top
go
of
and move
it.
on.
But it's okay. Yeah. But even like thinking I need to let it go is more, actually, is more thinking. So you don't need to, you really don't need to do anything. This is actually the most difficult part about the practices. We don't need to do anything. The effort in Vipassana is to do nothing, to not interfere. And this gets more subtle, how we interfere. But it is practice. So we're tending to see experience as this continuity, this continuous flow of this happening, that happening, this happening. And the moment we just have a moment of seeing, we see this thought, we're interrupting this flow, this continuity. And then again something appears, more story, more thinking about it, maybe even related to what you saw, and then you just have a moment. And you have a moment, and you make these moments more often, more clear. These moments of just seeing. And the earlier you see the things, the less they have a chance to develop, to build. And so often one sign of if we're practicing more samatha meditation is if we're trying to achieve some state. Do you see your meditation as something where you're building some state where you're trying to get to, or trying to maintain some state? This would be more on focusing on some state. But Vipassana meditation is just about the moment, continuously just a moment. So Juan, you were also mentioning about thinking about the time, and maybe you have some strategies, like when you start thinking about time, you're like kind of, okay, use your willpower more. Okay, let me focus more hard on the breath, or let me do something to try and, or even one thing when you mentioned about being tired. In that moment of being tired, you're kind of like, oh, I had this state of more awareness for the last 45 minutes, but now it broke, or it came apart. But in that moment, we have to forget everything, and we keep starting again, right where we are. Juan, you want to share anything?
Yeah, I think it's at least from my side. I also feel super tired by the end of the sessions.
Mm-hmm.
that I need, and it's kind of from my judgment, a little bit contradictory. It's like I need to rest from the meditation. It's like how hard I'm doing this. And as you said, it's like very, very important. Like it's a lot of willpower, like, and a lot of judgment as well. And I catch myself, and especially like, I don't know, reading the messages from the other people in the chat, like, oh, it's super chill and I'm having such a nice time. Like, what I'm doing wrong. And it's all the things, it's just, as you said, it's a snowball. And I think I haven't been able to catch myself on that side, and just to stop and just watching us. And I think when you said that, you notice it's just thinking. I think that was a nice insight as well.
Yes. Yeah, so don't worry about doing it right, or why are other people getting it or I'm not getting it, or why haven't I been getting it over the last days. The only place you can see it is right here, right now, always. So you always just start again. And even don't believe too much what people post in the chat, actually. Like, they're being positive also to encourage each other, but for sure everyone is experiencing ups and downs. They're just choosing to post more the positive, encouraging thing. But I guarantee you, if you write in the chat, hey, I've been struggling, I've been feeling impatient, there will be many people who will also agree, who are silently watching this also, like, oh, why is everyone having a good time except me? Probably 90% of people are thinking this. Okay. So it's Vipassana is just about the moment. It's just about the moment. I will cover this. And we are really shifting our perspective here from our usual perspective is, here's me and here's the world and here's what I'm trying to do and here's what I'm trying to plan, here's what I'm trying to change about the world or about myself, and shifting and trying to like work with the conditions. And even when we start to meditate, this still continues to happen. I try to make things better. Maybe I need to think more like this or think more like that, or we're always trying to kind of change and manipulate and tune ourselves or the world. And this is okay. It's not to say that we shouldn't do this anymore, but it is about having the freedom and option to shift into a more free or clear way of just seeing experience, kind of to see experience as already perfect as it is in the moment. And so the way we're meditating in Vipassana is on our moment-to-moment sensory experience. So what is our sensory experience? It is the world as we experience it through our senses. So if you right now, if you hear these words not as something intellectual, but as something pointing towards your experience. So as you sit here and you are kind of watching the screen, you have an experience of seeing. There's the experience of seeing, and there's the identification of what you are seeing and what it means. There's the experience of hearing. You are hearing, there's different things appearing in your hearing. And of course, there's the identification of what you're hearing and what it means, how you feel about it, etc. There's the experience of your body. The real feeling, the direct experience of your body, what it is in every moment. And of course, then there's the layers on top, the identification of what you're feeling. This is my leg, this is pleasant, this is good, this is bad, this maybe means I need to go to the doctor, this pain, maybe what does it mean? I need to check it out. This feeling in my belly, maybe I ate too much. There's the direct experience of the sensation of your body, and there's the thinking about it, of course. And then there's also smelling and tasting. And this last part is really interesting because Buddhism actually sees the thinking mind as another sense. So what if we see our thinking as just a sensory experience? So we have our whole kind of sphere of experience, and thinking happens. Thinking happens the whole time. We can't stop our thinking. So there's maybe voice you hear in your head, talking to yourself. Maybe there's images flashing in your mind. For example, if I say apple, 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 you see an apple flashing in your mind's eye. This is the sensory experience of visual thinking. Or maybe I say 5, 4, 3, 1. 5, 4, 3, 1. 5, 4, 3, 1. So you're hearing something. You're hearing something in this gap. 5, 4, 3, 1. This is the sensory experience of thinking also, the auditory. And your thinking is also feeling. Your thinking also happens in your body. When you feel sad, you're going to feel something in your body, in your heart, in your chest. When you feel happy, your body is going to feel different. When you're worrying, when you're planning, you're going to feel something in your body. So the thinking mind is just another sensory experience. So rather than giving too much meaning to what is the content of the thought or the story of it or the meaning, and trying to work with this meaning and the story and creating other stories or other actions to work with that story of the thinking, we just keep recognizing this momentary sensory experience. So I want to take 2 minutes and welcome Joanna. We are a small group today. I want to take 2 minutes to just notice our experience and what happened. Starting now, without any technique, just noticing our sensory experience moment to moment. Okay. Would anyone like to share what happened in these 2 minutes in your experience? There's no wrong experience. Everything is okay. Even you were thinking the whole time, it's okay.
Should I go first? Hearing, like the car, the vacuum cleaner, and the body sensations, the breathing,
Uh-huh.
twinges of pain here and there, the heartbeat, the breath, and a bit of thinking. Like if you ask me what I'm going to say, that was it, 2 minutes.
And the hearing of the car, what part of that is the hearing and what part of that is maybe thinking?
Well, I guess if you break it down, you hear it, and
Can
then
you
your
hear?
brain thinks car.
Did you see the car in your mind's eye? Or the vacuum cleaner?
Not visually, no.
Okay. Sure.
So conceptually, yes, but not visually. Because they're not very interesting things to try and identify, right? Just background.
Sure. Okay. Anyone else would like to share?
So for me, it was being more in the present, like right here, right now, and was moving between the different senses. And I think the thinking mind was labeling stuff. So listening, and it's like, oh, what I'm listening to. Or what is this kind of, or the taste in my mouth. So it's, oh, this tastes like tea. Or the smells. It's like kind of labeling the stuff. But it was, yeah, just moving between the different senses. But definitely way more.
Did you notice any? Did you notice any desires appearing in your mind? Any like you could also call it like calls to action, desires, intentions in your experience?
Not significantly. I mean, it was just open to probably a little bit like, can I listen to something else? Like just craving for different like nuances, like more subtle, but not like very strong call to action.
Okay, nice. So even, I mean, even the desired, I mean, call to action to identify or listen closely is also actually appearing in the mind. But great. I mean, it sounds like nice. You are being with the moment to moment experience. So this is all meditation is. This is all Vipassana meditation is. We are just noticing what's already happening. And instead of keep following ideas and stories about what's happening, we just notice it. We just notice it. We stay, it's a little bit like staying at the frontier of our experience. The frontier of where the entire experience, hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, feeling, and thinking meets the conscious experience, meets the consciousness of it, meets the knowing of experience, however it is unfolding moment by moment. And it will be different. It will be different every moment. It will be different every meditation. It will be different every day, every year. It keeps unfolding by nature. And we don't have to stop anything. We don't have to influence anything. We don't have to change anything. We just have to notice. So it's not about not stopping, not changing anything, and not noticing it. So this would be continuing to follow it, but just keep noticing what's going on. There's a nice quote about meditation, which is, don't do anything, don't try to prevent anything, but don't miss what's happening. This is Vipassana meditation. So easier said than done. Sounds very simple, but in reality we keep following, we keep falling back into, and this is completely normal. It's also the nature of our body and mind. So we have some technique. We just keep intending to, we keep cultivating a little bit, a light desire, so to speak, a light intention to just be aware of what's happening in body and mind at the present moment. And we have a little bit of ideas which help us. For example, the frame of body and mind. It's a framework. This experience is body experience, this experience is mind experience. And it helps us to see what's happening at the moment. And we have some technique of labels. So we keep checking what is happening right now. And you just give that a label. One thing at a time, whatever is noticed. So many things are happening. Things get messy, confusing. But just the technique of just one thing at a time just helps to simplify, helps to slow things down. A little bit of calming effect. Of course, also coming back to the breath, a little bit more calming effect, which helps to simplify experience, which makes it easier to notice. So this is our technique. And there is no wrong experience. There is really no wrong experiences. So don't think any of your experiences are wrong, or they are not meditative, or they are not the right thing, or I need to experience something else to meditate properly, or I need to be very peaceful and calm, or something like this. This is just more ideas, more thinking. Whatever is happening is your meditation. So the principles we're working with is the mere sensory awareness, just this moment-to-moment sensory experience. And a sense of equanimity, a sense of impartiality, a sense of just keep accepting whatever is. Anything not accepting, anything where you keep going back to this, pushing it away or clinging, is interfering. So we keep noticing when we're interfering. It's also just a habit. And whenever there's a moment of just impartiality with awareness, not impartiality or equanimity, which is checking out and falling asleep, but awareness of what's happening moment by moment, and just the acceptance of this, of this, of this. And the only place you can do it is right here, right now. So when you fall into scolding yourself about not doing it properly, this moment is the only moment where you can keep starting again. It's always starting again. It's not about getting anywhere. It's always about starting again. Okay. This is the idea for today. Hello, Joanna. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Yeah. So just to share, when you suggest like the 2 minutes sensation scanning or just being, as I was just arriving, that was my experience of just arriving to this meeting.
Yes.
But I also found interesting because sometimes when I start meditation, I also need these 2 minutes of arriving or these 5 minutes of arriving. So yeah, a kind of preparation of the mind. Yeah.
And what is
the
the 2
body as
minutes?
well.
What was the 2 minutes like? What does it like to arrive? What is happening in your experience when you're arriving?
Is a bit too, I will use a word, but it's kind of say to myself or say to my mind or thinking, I don't know if this is the correct word, is to be present, like to kind of put aside everything that was like 1 hour ago I was doing or I was thinking. So just to, especially in the afternoon when we had a full day of things, and so like it's like, okay, now you are
And
here.
this time, these 2 minutes when you were arriving in this call, what were they like? You went on mute.
Yeah, we're like we're yeah, what I start to do is to like I start to listen, that I, without accepting what I'm listening, if there is a noise that may discomfort me, or I start to silence a bit the mind. Yeah, so it's sensations, but without judging, even without labeling them, or like just be present. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So it's nice what you're doing. You are focusing a bit more on the body, the hearing, the sensation, and trying to take away trying to take away any judgment about it. So kind of facing it with some equanimity, creating a little bit of awareness, creating a little bit of equanimity of your experience. And I would like to invite you in your meditations to treat your thoughts as if they were sounds, to treat your thoughts as if they were just sensations. So you can do it with your hearing, with your sensations, this kind of just accepting it, just noticing it. You can do the same with your thoughts. So whatever it is. So you don't need to focus too much on just the body sensations or something. You can be open more, and just when there's thinking, you just like you recognize the sound and kind of just not judging the sound, you do the same with your thoughts. And so all of your experience is the meditation. There's no experience you need to create first to meditate. Okay. Good.
Can I ask
Yes,
you?
absolutely.
Yeah. It's like sometimes I have this sensation that like the breathing, for example, especially when I start the second part of being sit down, the breathing should be smooth, no? Or not forced, at least. That's what I understood. But something happened to me while I'm during the walking part, that is sometimes I see myself holding the breath, like, or not breathing at all. Of course, like after a while I need to breathe because I'm alive. But this moment is like, and I don't realize it when I'm doing it. It was like just when I breathe again, I said, I was without breathing. So this is, I don't know if it's common or if it's happen to other people, or it's just like a normal breathing process?
Yeah. So what's probably happening, there is some unconscious tension in the mind, tension in the body, and this tension creates some physical response. So often with tension in the mind or body, can be like in the muscles, can be holding your breath. Like maybe you know this experience of you're trying to do something physically demanding, like maybe opening some jar or lifting something, and we kind of hold our breath to do it, to kind of like, okay, let's do it. So check for this tension when you're meditating. Check for this during the walking. Check if there's this mustering or this like gathering, because probably this is what is preceding the sensation of holding your breath. And if you let that tension go before it becomes holding your breath, then this won't appear anymore. But if you only notice it later, like already after holding your breath, and that's okay. This moment of noticing is just the moment where you can just reset. And then you just notice it, and you kind of, it's like if you relax completely, and then you let things happen by themselves. So you don't need to somehow control it and do something else. Like you're holding it, okay, let me breathe consciously now. You just need to recognize it and see if you can internally relax something. And by itself, the body and mind will work in a more balanced way whenever you just notice and open more. If you notice and then try to control it, you will just create more conditions or more tension on top. So just keep noticing it and really see if you can do nothing in that moment, and then things will happen.
I also had a question about the breath. When I'm sitting and focusing on the breath as the resting base, it's very hard not to try and control the breath. Also because I do a lot of yoga and tend to breathe in a certain way. And then I find that during the course of the meditation, the back of my throat gets a bit sort of dry, which if I was breathing totally naturally, wouldn't be the case. And I really struggle how to observe without interfering with the breath. And then when I observe that and think that, then I suddenly get out of breath and I have to take really deep breaths to sort of reset.
Okay. This tends to be when we hold the breath when we try to look too closely at the breath, or when we try to hold it too tightly, like with our attention. So, and see also that if you don't try to maintain a continuity of awareness of the breath, just keep checking what it is doing in this very moment. So it is a subtle difference whether I'm trying to focus on the breath and really trying to focus on it through time, or whether I just keep checking what is it doing right now. And then again, what is it doing right now? And you forget about any continuity or any sort of through time or anything like this. And then, okay, what is it doing right now? And then you notice this sensation in the throat. Okay, that's what's happening right now. Okay, what else? That's what's happening right now. Okay, then the moment of breath, that's what's happening. So if you are more open towards all experience and not trying to hold too tightly to this resting base, it will start to become more natural. I also find this especially with the labeling, rising, falling. If I focus too much and try to get it too perfect just with the breath, I start to control the breath to make them fit the labels. So allow it to be really like just a momentary thing. And so you might even just focus on the breath for half a cycle, like one inhale, and then you notice something else, and then one exhale, you notice something else, and then So really, it is not about continuity of awareness of the breath at all. It is, you keep acknowledging the moment, and the breath is just something which is a bit easier and clearer to acknowledge in any given moment. But the more open you can be, and the less there will be this sense of tensioning or tightening or controlling it to make it be. Because throughout the rest of your day, you're breathing naturally, Like, for example, right now, there's more natural breathing. But if you now try to focus too much on your breath, maybe then you feel like you're controlling it. So rather than it being like something like this, just let it be like a moment of, okay, this is rising. And then your attention jumps around hearing, thinking, seeing, sensation, body, breath. So very open. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but it's hard to execute, right? It's harder in the execution. I think I find it easier to note the breath at the nose than in the stomach. In the stomach, I then tend to try and control it more. But the breath on the nose is lighter.
Okay. One more trick is, rather than focusing on the sensation of the breath, rest as the space within which the sensation of the breath is appearing. So for example, right now you sense there's the movement of breath, there's a sensation of breath in your belly. And you can kind of intently focus on this feeling or sensation of breath, as if it is something outside you, you are holding. And what if you don't try to measure yourself by how much you can hold the sensation, but rest as the place, or maybe the stillness, and then sometimes within that stillness in your belly, you notice the breath. Sometimes you notice more the stillness or the space of where the breath is. Maybe that is helping. How was that?
Must practice.
Okay. But yeah, if the nose is here, go with that. But really openly aware, not too tight, not too focused on anything. Openly aware is the key. Okay. Yes.
Reimer, can I share another thing?
Sure.
Also, like in the walking, it's the first time that I'm doing walking meditation, and which I find really interesting. But one thing that I notice is that I do it better, or it's not, let's not judge on that, but my natural meditation position but it's to close my eyes. And I remember that you said to have a gaze like in front, like
Yeah.
but in fact, like I noticed myself that I close the eyes like instinctively, or because maybe I want to be more inside, I don't know.
You can experiment with that. It's okay to close your eyes during walking if you can balance. It will, whenever you shut off one of the sense doors, if you close down your eyes, there's less stimuli, less noise, so concentration will increase. But if you do that, then you also know that you are not practicing to be aware with your eyes open. But in your life, you are, like right now, you have your eyes open, so it's also crucial to learn how to be aware, even when there's this visual input coming in. So you can little bit play with that and notice the difference for yourself.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Let's conclude the session. It's been a while. I'm getting tired. Thank you very much for joining. And take care and see you soon. Q&A tomorrow, lecture on Saturday. Good luck.
Thank you, Raymar. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.